JHK here for the AllStar, and joining me right now is UFC featherweight Leah Letson. Leah, you've been MIA. It's good to see your face. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me on. I'm really excited to be here.
3 years. It's almost been 3 years since you last fought. There
Yeah.
have been a few health issues along with the pandemic that has kept you out of competition. Let's start with 2019. You had a couple fights scheduled. You had to pull out. How tough was that year on you and everything that you went through?
Um, I think 2019 was probably the hardest year because that was when I was first figuring out that I was having health issues. I wasn't sure what was wrong. I knew something was wrong because of how horrible I was feeling. I felt like exhausted and just like I was starving all the time. And it was probably the worst feeling I've ever had in my life. And my brain wasn't even functioning properly. I couldn't think clearly. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what. And I continued to try to cut weight the way I had always done by basically starving myself and overtraining. And my body basically just said, nope, we're done, and was shutting down. And I didn't know how close I was to actually putting myself in the hospital with organ failure and actually causing serious permanent damage. And then I discovered a specialist out of Pennsylvania. So we've been doing um, basically video chat visits, and then he sends my blood work and stuff to local places. But yeah, without him, I wouldn't be here today because he figured out what was wrong with me and just how severe my health issues were. And 2019 was the year I was figuring all that stuff out. I had a fight booked. I was trying really hard, and I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what. And then I had to try to pull out of that fight, and then I tried to fight again, and my body just was not functioning properly, so I had to pull out a second time, and that was just devastating to me.
It's devastating, but I feel like it was the best move to make because going in there compromised, it's not like you're playing tennis or something.
Right.
You're not playing, you're fighting.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
serious consequences.
Yeah. If I would have continued and forced myself to try to cut weight, first of all, I don't think I would have made weight anyway because my body was completely shut down. And second, my doctor told me that I would have done permanent damage and that would have been my last fight ever. So I'm really thankful that I did pull out of those fights. It turned out to be for the best.
What did the doctors figure out and how did they help you to recover from that?
So there's a lot of things that were wrong with me. I'll start with the first thing that my gut biome was all messed up. So the bacteria in my stomach, it wasn't able to digest food properly. It wasn't taking in the nutrients. It was basically just taking everything I was eating and storing it as fat, no matter what I did. They said I could have ran a marathon every single day and I still wouldn't have been able to lose weight. And then my thyroid stopped functioning completely. And then they found out my hormone levels were all over the place. My estrogen was way too low, and my progesterone was way too high, and just pretty much every function of the hormones were not working right. And then the last piece of the puzzle was my mitochondria. So I was um, down to the cellular level, I was pretty messed up. My mitochondria, they have four functions. They're like the energy producer of the cell. They were not functioning like at all. So my body was basically running on fumes.
Did you have to stop training while you were in recovery?
Yeah, so I tried to continue training and it just wasn't working. So I did actually have to take probably a total of like 6 months off completely from any sort of exercise or training. And then I was able to slowly work back in after that. But I did have to take about 6 months off completely.
Were you ready in 2020 to fight and then just bad luck with the pandemic hitting?
No, I still wasn't ready. So I still wasn't fully healed. I didn't find out that I was fully, well, I'm still not, okay, so I'm mostly healed. I'd say about 95% healed. And I didn't find that out until about July of this year. So I knew I was feeling a lot better. I've been feeling a lot better this whole year, but July I went out to the Performance Institute in Vegas and I basically got clearance from them. They ran a bunch of tests on me and they said they felt comfortable if I were to fight at 145 and not have a hard weight cut. They felt comfortable that I was ready and healthy to fight at 145. So I told my manager that, and I'm very excited to be fighting again.
For sure. And you mentioned a couple ailments. Was it a combination of like diet and medication? You didn't have to go through any like medical procedures, right?
Right. It was just a combination of resting, um, obviously eating properly, which I was already doing, but I needed to eat more. I wasn't eating enough, and supplements and medication. So no actual physical procedures. I just a lot of supplements and medication, and working out less and eating more.
That's a trip, right? Like
Yeah.
eating more.
Eating more, working out less, and then I lost weight finally.
Yeah, yeah. So it teaches us a big lesson right there is that if you feel like your body something's wrong with it, you should probably go get it checked out, and maybe
Yeah.
it's just a couple tweaks and you'll be back to normal.
Yeah, and don't give up if you know your body. I mean, I'm an athlete, so I know my body, and I went to several different doctors, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And I didn't give up because I knew something was wrong, and I just wanted to figure out what, and I found a specialist, and because of him, I've been able to come back from it. So if I would have just listened to the first couple doctors, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you're here today. You're gonna
Yes.
fight November 13th. You're stepping back in
Yes.
there against Felicia Spencer. She has only lost to the best of the division, right? She's beaten, some good girls out there. Thoughts on the matchup?
Um, I'm really excited for the matchup. I think it's going to be stylistically. I think it's a good matchup because she she's a come forward brawling striker, and I like to strike too. I like to bang. We're both very very tough individuals, and I think it's a really good challenge for me because she went all 3 rounds with Cyborg and all 5 rounds with Amanda, and she's very, very tough. And I think it's a good challenge for me. I mean, I want to fight the best, and she's already fought the best, so I have to beat her to get to the best. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, definitely a good gauge, and also you're returning from such a long layoff that everybody that looks at this matchup they see you and it's like a mystery heading in, right? We don't know exactly what we're gonna get. That's actually good for you.
Yeah, I think I definitely have the advantage in that aspect because I haven't fought in 3 years. Any footage you see on me is kind of irrelevant now. It's outdated, and I've since switched camps and switched coaches. So my fighting style is going to be a lot different now. So it's going to be a mystery, and it's going to work to my advantage.
The team, you say you've made some changes. What is the team around you?
I have Daniel Wanderlei, Joe Nichols, and Ben Tomes, all of which used to coach at Rufisport, and a lot of well-known high-level fighters they've coached. So I'm really excited to have them on my team now.
What aspect do you have added to the training camp that you didn't have in years past?
Um, I probably have a lot more recovery focused camp. So not just going hard 6 times a day like I used to. Now it's more like 2 or 3 sessions at the most, but they're very intense. And then we focus on recovering afterwards so that I don't do the same damage to my body ever again. So I think focusing on recovery has really helped me a lot. And it's making the camp obviously more enjoyable.
Oh, definitely. Just eating more. That's
Yes.
that's the best
Yeah.
part.
I don't have to starve myself. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. And you're gonna go to most likely to Las Vegas to fight at the Apex. It's gonna
Yeah.
be empty. A couple people in the crowd. It seems like they're adding more people. But you're not. It's not something new to you. It's not alien to you because you were on the Ultimate Fighter. How different is that for someone that has never done that in their life? Is fight in front of a very empty structure.
It was super awkward the first time I did it on the Ultimate Fighter. I remember walking out and it was just quiet in there, and there was only like my team cheering for me, and it was weird. It was really uncomfortable. But then after the second time, it's like, okay, I'm used to it now. It doesn't bother me. It also it makes it more interesting when there's not a crowd because you can actually hear your coaches and the other person's coaches a lot better without a crowd. So it's kind of a two-way street though because they can hear your corners as well. So
You're gonna have to make a secret language or something.
yeah.
All right. Now, the featherweight division, there's a lot of talk over the past, let's say, 2 years of it being limited and they should get rid of it. What is your take on all this negative energy?
Um, I mean, of course, I don't want them to get rid of it. I love fighting at featherweight. I would love to continue fighting at featherweight. Although with my body being healthy now, I think being going down to bantamweight is actually possible for the first time in a long time. But I think there's a lot of talent at 45, and I think that the division could still be built well. I know Aspen Ladd is stepping up and going to 145, and she's a good fighter. And I think that there's definitely talent at 145 if they want to keep it.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent they can sign, I believe, around the
Yeah,
world at 145.
yeah.
And I don't think we're going to get rid of that thing anytime soon. You know, Aspen Ladd, she recently talked about the UFC likely signing Kayla Harrison once she's a free agent. Do you think Kayla Harrison will impact the division? What do you think the impact will be of her signing with the UFC?
Um, if she signs with the UFC, then obviously they're not going to get rid of the 45 division ever anytime soon, at least because she's such a big name and she's so talented and she's a strong woman. So I think they'll try to kind of build the division around her and potentially give her a super fight with Amanda Nunes, obviously. And I think if they brought her over, then they would really be able to bring a lot more talent into the UFC at the 145 division.
After this fight, do you have plans? Do you have like separate goals that you want to accomplish?
Um, so far, I've just been focusing on getting this fight taken care of, and then I'll fight whoever else they want to give me. I am going to be getting deployed for the Air Force shortly after this fight for about 3 months. So I'll take a 3 month break from fighting, but I'm hoping to be back in the late spring or early summer next year. So,
Where are you going, or is it top secret? Like I
oh,
can't ask.
they're just sending me down to Texas for three
Okay.
months. But
Okay, so it's not.
so I'm
Yeah.
not actually getting like deployed to the Middle East
Okay.
like I was in 2017, but
Yeah.
I'm just getting sent. I'm getting put on active duty orders down to Texas.
Okay. Okay. Not too far. That's not bad.
No,
Texas is a nice state. It's nice
yeah,
and big. So yeah. So anyways, November 13th, UFC Fight Night. Leah, you're back. I'm so happy to see you. I thought, I think a lot of people thought that we would probably never see you again. So it's great to see that you fought back and got healthy or healthier, and now you're
hmm
gonna be in there against a former title challenger in your fight back.
So
Thank you so much.
thank you for having me.